It is Pride weekend. We're doing a gay podcast for only gay books. Tomorrow, we're doing the Pride Festival downtown Salt Lake City with a bunch of gays. Did 16-year-old Reed ever see yourself being so gay?
Jesus Christ, no, never, ever. It never entered my mind that this was a possibility. I remember my first Pride Festival was Utah Pride, and I remember walking down State Street in Salt Lake City and holding my boyfriend's hand. And it was like this mind-boggling moment that I was holding my boyfriend's hand in downtown Salt Lake City. Beyond comprehension. How about yourself?
No. No. I never thought I would be this gay. Hey everybody, welcome to the Gay Book Club. I am your host, Booker.
And I'm Reed.
And we've got some phenomenal books for you today.
Hell yeah.
This episode, we're covering Oleander by Scarlett Drake. It's a gay dark romance reimagining of Great Expectations. And we're going over John of John by Douglas Stuart. Literary fiction, takes place in a small Scottish island. The repression is so cold and it has frost on it. Right up top, we do have a content warning. Yep. There is sexual violence, alcoholism, miscarriage,
abuse, basically all of the content warnings. All right, let's dive in. So first off, I want to talk about why we're pairing these two books together. Both are about how shame forms desire. Romance in Oleander does it in a loud way. Literary fiction, like John of John, does it kind of in a quiet way. They both feature the unreachable beloved. Jude can't have Caspian in Oleander, and Cal can't have his father's recognition in John of John. And both ask how much of yourself you'll shrink to keep loving someone. Jude makes himself smaller for Caspian. John folds his entire self away for 40 plus years. Both of these put abuse and harm between men at the center and then refuse to make the moral math easy. They're both very complicated books with complicated protagonists. And that's kind of the real conversation that I think we're hoping to have today. So let's dive into Oleander by Scarlett Drake. So basic plot is at 15, Jude Alcott meets Caspian Devereaux, and the next decade of Jude's interior life is basically over. This is a male-male, a single point of view romance. This is Great Expectations kind of mapped onto a contemporary British dark romance. I haven't read Great Expectations since I was in college, so it was a little bit of a stretch to remind myself exactly what happened, but have you read it?
I have never read it.
I mean, it's good in the way that literary English fiction is good.
Okay.
So a few quick facts about Oleander. This was a self-published book in 2024. It was a BookTok phenomenon. That's kind of where it gained traction.
Yeah.
And it has really good ratings on Goodreads. The audiobook gets singled out constantly, and we both listened to this on audio.
That's right, yeah.
And I loved it. I thought the narrator did an awesome job.
They really did.
So John of John is kind of a prestige literary release. This is not. This is an indie hit, and I think that's part of why it's interesting is because it reaches that prestige register anyway, and I found that interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk through the plot of the book. So we're into spoiler land. If you haven't read this book and you want to, go check it out and then come on back. But the plot is Jude is a working class kid being raised by his older sister Beth and her husband Luke. Luke's a landscaper, and when he lands a job renovating the gardens of the wealthy Devereaux estate, Jude's whole family ends up living on the property. That's the door into this other world. Jude meets Caspian at 15 years old, and Cass is everything Jude isn't. He's beautiful, he's rich.
He's an asshole.
He's an asshole, absolutely. And honestly, Jude despises him on sight and immediately also can't stay away. It's kind of an enemies to lovers. It's like that, I hate him and I want him at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the engine, is that it's contempt and obsession running on the same track. The Great Expectations scaffolding clicks into place here. So Jude is Pip, Caspian is Estella, Luke is Joe, the decent working man in the book's moral compass, and my favorite character. Beth is the guardian sister. Devereaux House is like Saddest House, the grand decaying glamorous state where obsession takes root. You don't need Dickens to read it, but the bones are deliberate. And the title is deliberate in Oleander. Are you familiar with the plant Oleander?
No.
So it's a really common plant that's used all over, but it's poisonous to humans. It's beautiful,
right,
but
that's
even
right.
a little bit can really harm you. It's cultivated, but it's also deadly. And I think that's kind of the message of the book.
That is the book. The book is a flower. Just kidding.
The book is, but and in the printed version, the flowers, there's an illustration of a flower that's taken throughout. So what starts as teenage antagonism hardens into an intense, possessive bond. The book tracks across roughly a decade, mid-teens into adulthood. It's slow burn, hate to love, second chance machinery, but pitched as tragedy rather than a comfort read. The reason Cass is the way he is gets revealed gradually, and it's the spine of the book. It's kind of that through line. His coldness was cultivated. His guardian / Uncle Gideon, the Miss Havisham figure, but darkened, raised him in bitterness and shaped him into an instrument of it. The oleander is a controlling image for exactly this, a plant that's beautiful and poisonous at once, a thing grown deliberately to be deadly. Cass wasn't born cruel, he was made cruel. But there's a darker layer to this book as well. There's an adult Xavier who abuses Cass. The book frames him flatly as a predator. There's no romance, there's no ambiguity about that, and a later reveal makes it worse. Gideon didn't, his uncle / guardian, Gideon didn't just fail to protect Cass, he intended the entanglement. His mild, self-serving reaction when it comes to light, the abuse, is one of the most damning things in the book. So much of Cass's later cruelty, his secrecy, the choices that gut Jude, the book asks you to read all of this as wreckage of what was done to him, to Cass.
Yeah.
So across the decade, there's betrayals, separations, reunions, a pregnancy loss, miscarriage, and there's a Dickensian benefactor reveal, the Great Expectations secret patron twist that reorders what Jude and you thought you knew about who's been quietly shaping his life and his fortunes. But Jude keeps going back, and that's the thing that the book is really about, the love that edges into self-erasure, the cost of being the one who understands. The ending is the single most divisive thing about this book in reading the reviews, and I want to talk about that here in a second. But essentially, there's kind of a happy ever after ending. They end up together after a very
Bunch of shit.
tumultuous book. Yeah, bunch of shit is maybe a more succinct way to say that. But like after a full decade of pining and betrayals and damage, Jude and Caspian end up together, and it's a genuine happy ever after. I think it's kind of a cathartic release in like, you're mine, I'm yours always. But I kind of want to jump into the ending first. Did you like the ending?
No.
No. Say more. Did you want them to not get together? What were you expecting, and what did you want to happen?
I did not want them to get together because I felt like for Caspian, yes, he went through a lot of abuse. And yes, like he grew up in a very twisted world. But I felt like he got to the age where he had learned enough and he had seen enough. Yeah. Jude was too kind. Jude was too forgiving. And like Caspian was just ruthless at times, just to be ruthless. They only had a history of toxic, brutal fighting.
Yeah, I think that Caspian's behavior and Jude's kind of refusal to see what was in front of him made sense and was justifiable as teenagers. When they're 16 years old or whatever, like, yeah, you're a fucking moron.
You got a lot to
learn.
You're
going to do stupid
You got a lot
shit.
of new hormones.
You're going to be dumb and mean, and you're not going to, like, yeah, absolutely. And your lust is going to drive every major decision. But I think for me, it was the later parts of Caspian when he was well into his 20s that I was like, okay, you've got some issues. But I will say it's not entirely unbelievable.
Agreed.
Because we know lots of people who enter into toxic relationships and they're not idiots. It's just for some reason you're blinded sometimes by lust, by love, by whatever, by this connection that you have with this toxic person.
Yes.
And the fact that they end up together isn't, to me, I didn't find unbelievable. Now, I I think that the ambiguity is also what makes this book interesting and what makes you think. You know what I mean? Like the bold choices. The writing in this book is spectacular.
Yeah.
It is beautifully written. Wonderful turns of phrases. The characters feel real. The dialogue is spot on. Like the author knows what she's doing. If we haven't been clear, this book is worth a read. It's gorgeous. Like check this one out.
Go get it.
If this is kind of your jam. I think for me, there were a few times where I wanted a little bit more. It's a little long, and I'm not sure that every stretch earns its real estate.
Agreed.
There are some turns that are kind of telegraphed a little early on, and I think that there could have been a little bit more of an abrupt mystery kind of thing. And maybe that was just part of what the author was going for, because it opens kind of on the ending. It opens with Gideon on his deathbed, essentially.
Yeah.
And then you do flashbacks and things like that. But I did feel like some of the twists were a little bit telegraphed, where it was like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming. And I do think that Jude's obsession with Caspian occasionally tips from deeply human into, okay, like, this is a little bit much. Like, this is stretching credibility. I wanted him to grow a spine sooner.
Yes,
I think.
yes, because he's just so desperate and puny.
But, I mean, these critiques are minor. This book is wonderful and definitely worth a read. The author does a fabulous job, and especially if you like Great Expectations, check this one out for sure. Okay, next question. Jude goes back and back and back. I guess, what is your line? Like, what would Cass have had to do for you to be done for good? Like, how do we fall into these traps of just kind of being abused and abused by the people that we love?
Such a good, deep question. I think it's easy to confuse love and lust.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
It's also easy to confuse love as being the only thing that matters. Love is definitely part of it, but logic's in there too.
Yeah.
And it takes a little more than love. And when you're young, you're a little more naive. I saw a lot of myself in Jude, where I was in a very unhealthy relationship in college. I was the Jude where I kept going back and like all the red flags, just like, okay, but it's different. No, it's not. It was not different.
I'm lucky in that I've never had to deal with that in a romantic relationship. My husband and I have been together for nearly 20 years. He was my first real steady boyfriend. I started dating a guy once before I met my husband. We just went out on a few dates, and he kind of got obsessed in a weird, dangerous way. I was in the closet at the time, and he showed up at my parents' house. He had looked me up online, and I'm sure I've told you this story.
I think so.
Anyway, he had looked me up online, found where my parents lived, and he called me and started describing my parents' house and like the cars that they drove and stuff like that, so that I knew like he was really outside, or at least he had been to my parents' house. And he said that if I didn't date him, he was going to kill himself on my parents' doorstep. I mean, it was pretty traumatic and awful, but we had been on a handful of dates, and like it was not. I did not have. There was no love. Like it was.
Yeah.
He was cute, and we had a decent time until he kind of like got a little bit obsessive, and I was like, "Whoa, boy, we need to step off." But I think for me, the closest, not in a creepy way, but like that toxic relationship would be with my family, I guess, like my parents.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where it's like you kind of keep expecting a different result from the same process.
Yes. Same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah, and I fell into that for a long time. But I was young and dumb. I mean, not to make excuses, but like...
And it's just like Jude and Caspian, like young, dumb, and there's a lot of hope in there.
A lot of hope in there.
Like,
that's a good point. Honestly, I think that Jude hopes that he can make this relationship with Cass work.
And it's a double-edged sword because, like, you want to hope and have hope, and hope can be a good thing, but it could also be...
destructive.
Very destructive.
Yeah, and in this case it was.
I can change him.
Exactly. I can make my parents be okay with the gay. Well, it was more I can change myself, as I thought I could be straight, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And win my parents' approval. Didn't work out. Turns out, super gay. Okay, so in the book, Cass is in an abusive relationship with a man named Xavier. Xavier was a tutor that his uncle / guardian Gideon brought in, and the relationship started out in an inappropriate way while Cass was still a minor, and even when they reconnect later, Xavier is very abusive, physically abusive towards Cass. But Cass stays with Xavier, and he says he does it to protect Jude. So I think one of the central questions of the book is that Cass says he stays with Xavier in this abusive relationship to protect Jude so that he can get some money and set them up later, and so that Gideon doesn't kind of destroy Jude's life. And the question that the book asks is that love, or is it more a flattering way?
It's kind of like a manipulation.
Yeah. Okay, so is that love, or is it the most flattering story a person tells himself to justify staying in the thing that's destroying him?
Yes.
Like, does Cass love Jude in those moments? Is his mistreatment of Jude justified by the ends? Because the end is Cass and Jude are set up financially for life. They're able to be together. And yeah, they had a rough 10 years, but like from 25 or whatever on, they can have a great... They're set. Like, they are set. Is the pain worth it? Was that Cass being self-sacrificing, or was it not really true?
I think it's bullshit.
You think it's bullshit? Mm-hmm.
I think it is Caspian telling himself, both of them telling themselves the story to kind of mask it. Because if you're in love with each other, Caspian was a phenomenal pianist.
Yep.
Jude is off to college. He's getting his degree.
He's smart, yeah.
Their trajectory is already towards success.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to protect Jude.
I agree with you. This plot point didn't stretch credibility for me. This felt very authentic.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking about this, I'm not saying like the author did something wrong. What I'm saying is that, like, for me, if Jude truly wanted, because like I can see a scenario where you kind of be like, okay, I am going to endure like a couple rough years so that I can get some money and we can just run off to the sunset and retire on some desert island. But he would have to involve Jude, and Jude would never have stood for that. And Jude would have said, I don't want the money, I want you. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I think that there is some selfishness in Caspian's. And I understand he was groomed from a young age.
Yes.
And that there's abuse. And I don't mean to make light of that.
Absolutely.
But I do think that Caspian made some choices as an adult that show that he is a selfish person. Again, we're talking about very complex protagonists. And I think that's what makes the book interesting.
Yes, this right here is what makes the book so good, is because there's so many intricacies to the characters.
Yeah. You kind of want to smack him and then hug him. You know what I mean? You're like, God damn it, you're a moron. But you also need a big hug. Come here. Like,
yeah. Like, I feel like we're talking about some of our best, not that our besties are in this situation, but like Caspian and Jude are our besties.
Yeah.
So like anyway.
Okay, so last question about this book, and then let's dive into John of John. Did you like this book? Respect it? Both? What did you think?
Both.
I
really liked it. And I really liked it. Absolutely respected it. What about you?
Yeah, I thought this book was spectacular. I think that the writing is so beautiful. I do think that it dragged a little bit at a few points, but overall, this book was outstanding and definitely worth a read.
Yes, absolutely. Go get this book. Go listen to it. Go read it. Yeah. Check it out. Buy it. Steal it from your best friend, like Caspian would.
All right. You ready to jump into John of John?
I can jump right into John of John.
Let's do it. Okay, so John of John was written by Douglas Stuart. So the plot is a broke art school graduate is summoned home on the Isle of Harris in Scotland by his stern, devout father. And the buried truth is that both men are gay, and neither knows it about the other. This is a dual narrated, multiple POV book. And I know that sounded like a spoiler. You find that out in like the first
Page
chapter.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's not really. We'll enter spoiler land here in a second, but this is Stewart's third novel. I love all of his books. Shuggy Bane and then Young Mungo are spectacular and just gut-wrenching, awesome, authentic. This is gay literary fiction at its finest. I am a huge fan of Douglas Stuart, and for me, this is my favorite Douglas Stuart book, which might be actually a controversial take from what I could see, like going through Goodreads and TikTok.
Oh.
A lot of people feel like he kind of missed the mark on this one, but I just disagree. To me, this was like his culmination. I loved it.
Yeah. He didn't miss the mark.
No, I
Ladies and gentlemen,
love this book.
gays and gays, he did not miss the mark.
Okay, let's enter spoiler land. If you haven't read it, go check it out. So, this book follows Cal, or John Callum MacLeod. He's 22, broke art student grad living large in Edinburgh. His father, John, summons him home to the family croft, Fallaby, on the Isle of Harris, claiming that Cal's grandmother, Ella, is gravely ill. Her feet, in John's telling, have gone purple. Cal goes back and finds that the emergency is largely exaggerated. Ella's feet are gray. She's fine. She does have some heart trouble, but overall, she's fine. It was a pretext to drag him home and back into the world of the sheep and the loom. The world is late 90s. We're talking pre-internet, but still like AIDS era. It's a tiny Gaelic-speaking Free Presbyterian village in a dying crofting and weaving culture. The agricultural calendar, lambing to shearing, structures the whole book, and it's kind of like an allegory.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting setup because it's kind of like a city that's sort of removed, like a very rural.
Yeah.
Because while it is the 90s, in this town, it is like
1920.
Yes.
Yeah. The engine in the book is dramatic irony. The reader learns early that John, lay preacher, pillar of the church, is himself gay and has loved his best friend and neighbor Innes since they were teenagers. Cal, the son, is also closeted, but neither knows it about the other. And that's kind of like the whole book, the trap of the book.
Yeah.
We learned pretty early on that Grace, John's ex-wife, discovered the affair between him and Innes and chose not to out him. But, plot twist, she leaves him for his brother. So, the spine of the book, it's John's severity isn't simple homophobia. It's self-hatred turned outward onto his child. John is kind of a dick, frankly.
Oh, total dick.
He pleases Cal's long hair and softness because hardness is how he survived. The contradiction the book sits on is that John can never love Innes and see his goodness clearly, yet treats his own sexuality as a sin he can never be forgiven for. He extends the grace to Innes that he refuses to extend to himself. And John is abusive towards his son, Cal. In fact, he beats him to a bloody pulp one Sunday after Cal embarrassed him at church.
Pushes him out of the car.
Yeah, like beats him
Bad.
severely.
Yeah.
Like, again, we're talking about morally complex protagonists in these books, and these are real characters. Douglas Stuart does a phenomenal job at making each character feel so real, and I think that's what I love so much about his books. And I think he nails it on this one more than any other. I love his other books too, but these characters are so realized that I feel like I know them. Like, I feel like they're real people.
So well that I feel like I am almost in their minds.
Yeah, so we learn also that Cal had been hooking up when he was a teenager with a neighbor named Dole. Dole. And when he comes back, finds that Dole is an alcoholic, frankly.
Yes.
Like in Danger Town.
Yes.
And Dole ends up drinking himself to death, essentially, through a dry drowning.
Yeah.
And we don't know if it was intentional or what happened, but there's some history there. And we learned that, like, Cal and Dole, while they were best friends when they were teenagers, had also been hooking up.
Yeah, a lot of sexual experience. And there's weird tension there because it's like Cal was the one that got out of the town, went to college, like was
able to kind of experiment. And
while Dole wasn't able to get out and stays in this very small town community and like kind of gets crushed by the homophobia and religion.
Yeah, the whole story kind of was like the saddest, or amongst the saddest part for me, because God, like, his story felt just so sad, man. Like, you see why he turned to alcohol to kind of like...
Alcohol was his only escape.
Yeah, like this closeted kid who couldn't get out of his village and then ends tragically, like with no resolution. That is landmark signature Douglas Stuart. But
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking, but you see why and how he did it. You're sad for him. You're mad at him. Again, you want to smack him and then give him a big hug.
Yeah.
And be like, it's okay, man. Like,
yes.
like,
yes.
it's okay to be gay. Come with me. Like, you want to, I don't know, put him up in your spare room. My God. Like,
yeah.
I really liked the character. And I was so sad when he passed away.
Agreed.
And I understand
so
why. And it served the book. It wasn't just a plot point. Like, this was a fully realized character, but it did make me sad. Like,
Absolutely.
it was a tragic moment. Complicating things is Dole's sister, Isla? Isla, thank you. Isla. So complicating things is Dole's sister, Isla, was kind of meant for Cal, like, in such a small village. The two were similar in age, and it was like...
They had a tiny bit of chemistry, so
yeah, they were friends.
Everyone is like,
everyone thought
they're
they're
gonna
gonna...
they're gonna they're
Yep. And obviously they didn't. We learn later in the book that Isla knew about the hooking up between Cal and her brother, and so she never really got her hopes up. But in the present time, Isla hooks up with a visitor to the island and gets pregnant.
Oh, a sailor.
A sailor, yep.
Yeah.
And the local church clergy try and pressure Cal into marrying her.
To take responsibility for the pregnancy.
They think that he's the dad.
Yeah.
In fact, his own dad is like almost happy about it, because he's like, no, she would be good for him. She would like make him settle here. Like, it would be kind of perfect because his dad doesn't know he's gay.
And because his dad loves Cal and doesn't know how to express those feelings. And it's like, oh, my son would be here. That would be awesome.
Yes.
But can't process that.
Yeah.
But if he got a girl pregnant, well, you fix that with marriage.
Yep.
And then you got to be here. So, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Cal obviously is like, yeah, I am not the dad. And they're like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I'm quite sure that's not a possibility. They don't end up getting married, but it just is kind of a complex, lots of intertwining relationships in this small town. It's very atmospheric, and you feel like you're in a small town in the Scottish Islands.
And during that time where it's like very misogynistic, and again, the author does such a really great job of coating everything with a layer of masculinity in a way that's it's not necessarily always toxic masculinity, but just a masculinity.
Yeah, an authentic layer of how things have been, and probably in many areas still are.
Yeah.
One of the more interesting parts of the book that left me conflicted. So you have John, dad, and Innes, the neighbor, and there's a love affair going on there. And Innes wants more. Innes wants to be with John, and John is not ready for it. John wants to stay in the church. He wants to just kind of keep things the way they are. Occasionally hook up, but not be...
You stay over there,
Exactly.
I will stay over here.
And Innes wants more than that. And
They're also at a point in their life where like that can kind of happen because their kids are grown.
the kids are grown. They're not... Yeah. So there's a lot of tension between the two characters, and there's some back and forth there. After one of the bigger fights between the two, Cal and Innes go off on a weekend trip to buy a van.
For
Innes.
Innes needs to purchase a new van.
Yeah. So Cal is like, I'll go with you, because Cal's been picking up a vibe from Innes.
Yeah.
Cal's like, this dude's gay. Yeah. And Cal is young. He's horny. Innes is handsome. Like, he's down to clown.
Yes.
Like, he's like, let's do this. And Innes, it's interesting because, like, Innes knows that if he goes on this trip, there's a possibility of something happening. Mm-hmm. He's also picked up, Cal
Cal's gay.
Yeah, Cal's gay. If you're looking for it, like, he's an art student. Like, come on.
Yes, yeah.
But they go off on this weekend trip, and Cal makes a move on Innes, and Innes shuts it down.
He shuts him down.
And that brings up some new tensions between the two. And
Because Ennis kind of likes it, because he's finally getting some attention where John is always shutting him down.
And you're a 45-year-old and a hot young 20-year-old. It's like the younger version of the man you love.
Right.
Who is saying, let's bone.
Right.
Like, and he still is like, oh, actually, you know what? This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
It's an awkward moment, but it was an interesting moment. And I don't know. I was a little bit like tight in my skin while I read that part. But
because Cal's dad, a different point, is also picking up on these vibes that these two, there's almost, is that a spark?
He's wondering, like, is my kid and my quasi-boyfriend, are they hooking up?
Is this a...
And what do I do with
jealous.
that? Super jealous. Which is interesting. Let's talk about John for a minute, because I think he is the most interesting character in the book. So John, the dad, is abusive.
Yes.
He's a dick. He cheats on Innes with another man, and he's just kind of awful. But you also, at least I did, I feel for him. Like...
Yeah. Because a lot of his awfulness and his callousness is derived from this community where the religion says, oh, you should hate yourself. The homophobia says you should hate yourself. The toxic masculinity says hate yourself. So you kind of get where, like, he is brainwashed and constantly fed.
Absolutely.
You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And he starts to see some of that in his own kid. It's not an excuse.
No.
It's part of the reason.
What's interesting to me is that John Sr. has done one thing right, at least. He raised Cal in a way that Cal is a good person who breaks that cycle of abuse. Cal is not physically abusive. He's relatively open about his sexuality. He doesn't necessarily totally come out, but, like, he's at least not going to go down that same route of marrying Isla.
Right.
And trying to pretend to be straight. Like, he is breaking that cycle. And I thought that was interesting, that message of, like, I don't know. I just think that John is such a complex character, and you want to smack the shit out of him. Like, he is awful to Cal at certain points in the book, and, like, just a total dick. But then he has, like, these redeeming moments where you're like, this is a real person with complicated backstory.
Damaged.
So damaged. And not all of the damage is his fault. A lot of it is situational, environmental. And I found these characters to just, like, grab my heartstrings and just tug them. All of them. And God, they're all so real. Another character that I really liked is Cal's grandma. So his mom's mom lives in the house with them, and technically it's her farm and her house and property, and she loves Cal.
Yeah.
Unequivocally loves him, helps him out.
Knows he's gay.
She figured it out because she's smart and doesn't care. She supports him. She was kind of a sassy grandma, essentially. Just a fun character. I really liked Ella.
Yeah, she was really great. And because she was kind of like the wise old wizard in a lot of it.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Kind of the wise old wizard.
Kind of jumping back to John again. This is the first time in a book where I have so passionately hated a character and felt for a character at the same time, and that was very confusing. Fuck him.
Okay.
Piece of shit. Aww. Go get your love.
So speaking of John, the dad, the book puts you inside the brains of both Cal and John.
Yeah.
Did that help you find John more likable? Did you find more sympathy for him because of that, do you think?
I did feel like it helped me understand him, because otherwise I would have been like, oh, he's just a dick. Like, run him over with your truck.
Right.
But then it was like, oh, there's so many intertwined variables. Yeah. What about you?
I agree. I think that the dual POV was executed with precision and for a very specific purpose. And that, I think, helped the book become a more realized, thoughtful piece. I really enjoyed seeing where John was coming from. It didn't make me It didn't make me agree with some or a lot of his choices, but it made me understand why he made them.
Exactly.
Even if you're like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Just, God damn it, move in with Ennis. He's the love of your life.
He makes you happy.
Gives a shit if the neighbors talk. Why does that matter?
Yeah.
But you understand why it's important to him. The book ends with Ennis kind of essentially having enough, and he bounces. He just leaves. And John finds out about it and is fucking distraught. He is
utterly
totally apocalyptic. What's that word?
Apocalyptic.
Apocalyptic. He's totally beside himself.
He's fucked.
And what's interesting is that Cal, the son, helps John realize what Ennis means to him and helps him find a framework in which he can go find him, spend time with him, and save him. No, go. That was
This
it.
part of the book blew my fucking mind. And I understood it so well. Having, like both of us, having come from religious backgrounds and religions that did not accept homosexuality. And in religion, there's a rhetoric and there's a language, there's a specific jargon.
Yeah.
And the way you talk, the way you pray, the way you do things. So John finds out that Ennis is gone and that there is no way to find him. Because again, this is the early 90s. He can't just look him up on the internet. He doesn't have his address. He is gone. And you feel the crush and the heartbreak that John goes through, which honestly he needed to.
He did. He needed to hurt.
He needed to hurt.
He hurt other people.
He hurt other people. He had the love of his life right there, and he just kept, nah. And he had this chance where he could realize, okay, I thought I lost him, but turns out Ennis had left, I guess, a note.
Yep.
And it gave the address and Ennis's location, and it's basically saying, I'm going to stay here
until this time at this day. If you want to be with me, you need to come find me.
Come find me. And when I'm out, I'm out. Like, this is the last. After this, radio silence.
Yeah.
And when John finds that out, he resorts back to his stupid, idiotic
religious trauma.
Yeah. And he says, oh, he's stupid and he'll come back to his senses, come back home. And it is so beautiful in how Cal sees what's actually going on. He's like, no, you're about to lose love of your life. Set aside their relationship and their quandrels and all the drama in between. Cal is able to translate the religious language and speak in tongues to his father.
Right.
So that his father can justify for himself his religion, and from every perspective, I do need to go after this guy.
I can make this work.
Because Cal is like, doesn't the Bible say, if thouest brotherest go off and sinneth, then thouest goeth after thy brothereth for love?
It is interesting. Cal frames it in a way that speaks to John's religious mind.
Yeah.
And makes it work. And it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
The ending, I loved the ending. For me, it was just like this moment of like, you don't know exactly what the future is holding for these people, but like the way it's wrapped up just was like this beautiful end to a symphony. I loved this book. The writing was gorgeous. I just thought it was fantastic.
And it's not an ending where you're like, oh, well, that was nice, and you understand everything. And it took me a couple days to digest the ending because, in my opinion, if you are Ennis, you should have just left. Like, I don't think John was going to change.
Ennis also loves John. He does.
You're right.
He loves him in spite of himself. He recognizes that he shouldn't. I think Ennis realizes, like, John's got some toxic characteristics, but I still love the damn dude.
True.
And I don't know, Ennis is just such a heartwarming character for me. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, he's pure gold.
Okay, so some of the pacing in this book, I loved it, and I loved just being enveloped in this world, and it worked for me. Some people, I think, in reading reviews online, found it to be a little bit slow. Did it test your patience, or were you okay with that slow pace?
That was me. That was my review you were reading. Just kidding. Just a tad.
Just a tad,
a slow, just a tad. There were a few times where I got a little, I didn't quite know what was going on.
For me, the pacing worked so well because it built this world, almost like a fantasy world, but
Yes.
in real life, where I felt like I was a member of this small town. I lived there with these people. I knew the different characters in the small town, and each character I wanted to smack and hug, even Cal. It's just like at certain times you're like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? I think that Douglas Stuart is a master at creating characters that are complex but likable. And he created this whole world for me. And I guess whatever wavelength Douglas Stewart's on, I'm on that same wavelength because I am a huge fan. I love his books, and I just think they're fantastic. For me, this is like one of my favorite books of all time.
It's so incredible.
It's up there for me with like Song of Achilles. Like it's top 5 for me personally. Because the writing is just gorgeous. The character work is astounding, and the dialogue just feels so natural. This book just read like a diary. I don't know. I love that.
You know, even the parts where it got a little slow, that kind of fit because it's like that's what happens in a very rural, repressed area. You get stuck and things slow down.
Texas.
Yeah, that happens. And so it felt very appropriate.
Okay, let's bring the two books back together since we're talking about two and wind this up. Okay, so we put Oleander and John of John, sort of a similar wound, just kind of loud versus silent. Which version cut deeper for you and why? Did you enjoy one book more than the other if you had to pick?
I did enjoy John of John more.
Yeah.
I definitely related to it more, but both were so beautiful.
I really like both these books. They're both top tier. Check them both out. For me, Oleander is good. John of John is next level great. It's like top tier literary masterpiece. You have to read it. Oleander's great, but I don't mean to demean it, but John of John is like next level.
And when I finished Oleander, I was like, great book. When I finished John of John, I stared at the wall for about a day processing. It's one of those books.
Yeah, same, honestly.
Book hangover.
About the same. I think what's interesting about the two books, too, is that they both ask how much of yourself are you willing to fold away to keep your parents' love? Have you done that? Do you regret the folding? Like, I imagine that you've done that, knowing our personal history.
I didn't go as extreme, but a lot of things were very calculated until I felt ready and I felt that they were ready.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think, to different degrees, have folded myself away to protect my parents' feelings.
Yes.
I think before I came out, it was obvious I was hiding that part of myself. Even after I came out, like, I was dating my husband at the time, and I didn't immediately tell my parents that I was in a relationship because it seemed like too much for them to handle at that specific moment.
Yeah.
And that sort of like just different things kind of folded out over time.
And I kind of folded some away in protecting my parents. And also it was hard when they're in such a small rural town. It wasn't just, it was for the protection of their feelings, but also because there's the whole town that is going to give all their judgment.
When I came out, I was kind of expecting and hoping that my mom would just like spread the word amongst like extended family, things like that, and I wouldn't have to like keep coming out. And it turned out that was the one thing she wasn't willing to gossip about. I didn't ask her to tell people. Maybe I should have, but like I kept
But
having
isn't that what moms do?
right? Like I thought, okay, as soon as I'm done doing this, she's gonna call up her sisters and talk.
Yeah.
Nope. And I think in her defense, it was coming from a place of like, it's not my story to tell. Even though I really wanted her to tell that story so I didn't have to come out a million times with every extended family member. Okay. So who's Oleander for? This is for anyone who's loved someone they absolutely should not have loved, especially if loving him taught you something about yourself you didn't want to know. John of John is for anyone who loves gay literature, beautiful writing, masterful storytelling, and character work, and anyone who's grown up feeling like they needed to fold themselves into a smaller version to keep a parent's love. Both books are fantastic. Check them out. Read them back to back. Just double down on the trauma and then find a palate cleanser. But
You will need a palate cleanser.
But like, just read them both.
Yeah.
Check them out.
Go there.
Great books, both of them. Check them out and let us know what you think.